Hello and welcome to Critter Farms. We're back with another episode of UMRV Upper Mississippi River Valley by DJ Modding. And we've moved the time forward to April 3rd, third week of April for us. And I've got the corn planter still going out here. We didn't quite finish up yesterday in this field, so we've got him out here going to town. He should be able to wrap this field up no problem today. And I'm excited because we did finish up all of our soybean planting with that demo unit yesterday. So we're going to go ahead and roll our beans now. I'm looking at this alfalfa here, and that all sprouted up here very nicely. So we've got that going for us. I unfortunately didn't think about rolling that before we got into things. We'll have to figure out how and when to do that. We'll have to do it like right after a cutting or something. I don't want to interrupt the growth cycle now that it's already growing. We've got the 9620 all set up and ready to go here. We're going to be hooking this up to a new Degelman roller that we've just got purchased here for the farm. We wanted something that was going to be able to knock out a lot of acres. I'm honestly not the biggest fan of rolling from a time perspective. However, it does help things out, especially when you're talking about beans and such. Crops that are going to have a cutter running close to the ground. So I figured, well, let's double down and get the largest roller that I thought we could handle. And I figured this 9620 would do an awesome job of pulling this around in the field. So I'm going to get this thing run out here, and we're going to see what we can do to tackle rolling some soybeans today. And then assuming we get this job done, we've also got to get our sprayer locked in. I've got a sprayer all lined up that we're going to be getting a good lease on, and hopefully it's a lease to own setup if we end up liking it, but I'm going to save the surprise on that until we've actually made the purchase. We've got a bit of a cloudy morning here, a little bit of fog left out there, but the ground seems dry and we need to get going on this field work. We got a lot of it to get done today, and even though this is a very wide implement, this is a pretty decent sized field. So I want to make sure we can get it all done. And I think this thing is going to go like 11 miles an hour, so I'm trying to preemptively find a good gear to get into. And so let's get pulled in here. I'm trying to figure out the best way to get this thing all unfolded here without doing too much damage to our headland passes, but I guess that's what end rows are for, right? All right, we are all unloaded, woo. And it looks like we're right into the rolling. I wonder if this thing has a raise and lower function. Not so much. If it's unfolded, it's a rolling. That's actually probably somewhat realistic, so we'll run with it. I'm gonna get down over here on the edge of our field. I still haven't had the time to install the upgraded rolling textures yet, though. I need to really get into that here at some point. Perma's Modding did a great job of putting together some updated textures and some instructions on how to update a map with them, and we just haven't had a chance yet. That was originally in my to-do list, but somehow it didn't get done. It does look a little bit odd to be taking this from a legitimate planted texture to whatever this is. I suppose I can, however, get a GPS track set up so that we're not shaking all over the place as we do additional rows here. And there we go. Looks like I've got it on 90. And I will, I'm trying to think if we'd probably do headlands at the end with a roller. I'm not sure, actually. I guess if I'm going to be turning around a lot, we'd kick stuff up. I'd probably want to take off the headland passes at the end with a roller just to smooth everything back out. So that's what we're going to do. I don't have the ability to raise this thing up, though, on the end rows, so I guess I'm just spinning right around into my next row. I'm guessing that's how I do it. I don't know. I haven't really ever rolled before in real life. I guess I could go watch some videos at some point. Let me know in the comments if you've actually rolled a field before, how you guys handle that. I'm always curious to know, especially when it comes to things like the end rows, what people do with different field jobs. But we're cranking here. I'm going 11 miles an hour. I think this thing doesn't have much of a speed limit, so I could probably go as fast as I want. I'm not sure I want to do much faster than this. 14 actually seems pretty fast to me, but we're gonna run with 14 here. I think I'm leaving a little sliver here because that was before I got the GPS track on. That's all right. We'll live with a small little bit missed on the rolling side of things. And there we go. And we're just whip right back into the next row. This is actually quite a easy job, I'll say, and especially with equipment this big, it's proving to go quite quickly here. I was thinking that this might take a little bit longer, but this Degelman roller is actually quite a bit wider than I expected it to be. I'm sure that even the hired worker could probably handle doing a job like this if I did do the headland passes first. I think without doing headland passes, I'd have to use Courseplay or something because for sure the base game helper would put me into any drainage ditch or something here. But I have to say, out of the mods that I've used in this series, this 9620 is quickly becoming one of my favorite tractor mods from this slightly older school setup. I've used a lot of different tractors from different eras, and I don't know, I just like how it looks. It looks really slick. The 9630T that we're using as well has been a fun mod to play with, so both of these have been really well done. Ooh, that hill. Look at us dragging down here. We're at 8 miles an hour. I gotta gear down a bit to keep things going. I like it. I like it a lot. I still haven't figured out my flickering mirrors issue, unfortunately, which is why I don't do nearly as much stuff in cab as I probably could. But it's kind of annoying to have them flickering on and off all the time, so we're kind of trying to avoid looking at them for the most part. And yeah, but I'm liking the hills on this map and making the equipment work for it. This is one of the reasons why I like using equipment that isn't always the top end of the line. Not that a 9620 is any slouch when it comes to horsepower and such, but it's not just going to champ through pulling this big implement no matter what I do to it. It is going to work for it a little bit, which has been fun. I turned a little bit too tight into that. And I'm liking that no matter how many times I try and raise and lower this implement, it's not going to let me do it because there's no ability to raise it up. I'm over here spamming the controls, trying to get it to do something that it'll never do. So as always with new equipment though, I do like to test things out. So I'm going to shut down GPS for a half second and I'm going to hire a worker and I'm going to see what the worker will do when it gets to the end of the field here. Now, the one thing with the worker is it's going to go the fastest speed that it can possibly go. And I believe this thing is set to go at 22 miles an hour. So this is another reason that I don't know that I would want to use a worker with this one, but I'm really curious to see if it's just going to go careening off the edge of this field. Yep, that's exactly what it's going to do. Farm sim worker for the win. Well, that was about what I expected. I guess I shouldn't be surprised. So we're going to take back over here, pull ourselves up out of the ditch, and we'll just not be using the hired game worker with this particular implement. But it's always fun to jump in there and kind of see how it's going to react. Now let's give ourselves a few gears here, get some extra miles an hour. I think I was okay with going in the like 11 to 15 mile an hour range. Feels about right. Yep, we're bogging down just a little bit here. If I gear down one more is where I've got the power, so right around that 11 miles an hour in 14th gear on this thing seems to be the sweet spot for pulling this roller up the hills. Man, I'm just looking at the clock. We're already more than halfway through this field after just a couple of rounds, and we're going to be able to knock this out no problemo. Let me get spun back around here, and we can actually take a look at a few of the menus. It's been a minute since I checked in on our cows. I'm really hoping I haven't forgotten to feed them. I know I gave them a lot of feed in advance, And then we've kind of been busy with planting season, and I forgot to check when we moved the time forward here. So if we just pop open the animal menu here, oh yeah, we're starting to run a little low, 86,000 liters. We use about 25 a day is my ballpark number. So we've got a couple, a little over 3 days left in here, a little bit more in the other pen. You can see we're getting real close to these reproduction numbers. I'm really curious to see how this plays out when we get all the way up to 100% reproduction. We're getting a fair amount of slurry in the pits as well right now, which is fascinating to me. We've used up so much slurry on all of our fields in the fall, and now we're already starting to see more. Oh, I was talking and not driving. Let's spin around the other way here. I think at this point I'm going to have mostly taken off the headland passes just from the way that we're turning around anyway, so I don't know how much rolling I'd need to do coming back on the headlands at this point. There we go. And that's actually going to bring me off the edge of the field over here, so next pass down I'll need to clean up the squirrelier bits on the outside. It's like I'm almost ready for headland passes at this point after I finish up one more round. And in addition to looking at the animals, let's take a look at our crops here. If I turn grass on, we've got our 2 grass fields, we've got alfalfa and clover, and then we planted these 2 cornfields. We've got a bean field here, and it looks like the neighbors planted beans in the big field behind us, which is quite honestly very tempting. I'm looking at possibly picking that field up as our lease. I've got the lease to own mod all patched up here now again, so I'm looking at probably taking out another lease on that big field there before harvest here and adding that to the collection. Little bit cheesy to take a field over that we didn't actually do the planting and stuff on ourselves, but we're probably going to do it just because I want to make sure we've got a bit more land, and that's a nice big field. Should be a lot of fun to do some harvest on. I've been looking at some upgrades come harvest season as well, see if we can add a second combine to the farm or get a bigger combine. I'm not sure which yet, but we're going to upgrade during harvest. Really, this year is all about the upgrades. This is our first planting year, so I didn't do anything too crazy with the planting cycle, but we're going to be adding on to the farm each season with something new. And this season, it looks like, is our roller. In the summer here, we're going to be picking up a sprayer, and we're just going to keep trucking through different things as we progress the game. I think it kind of keeps things interesting for me. And especially since we finally got our finances under control, we're making a profit on our cows, and our cows are about to become much more profitable as we double them up and get 500 in each of those barns here pretty quick. And that's going to do it for the little bits there in the corner that we missed. So now I think I'm going to just take this around the outside curve, and then I'll come back down the long straight row. I think that's going to make the most sense for me. That way I'm not trying to take the curvy headland bit down to this end and end up trapped down here and needing to take an empty run all the way back up, if that makes sense. This big implement is very hard to judge where the outside edge is going to be while I'm turning, so we are going to end up clipping over the grass or missing a few bits here and there, I suspect. That's all right. It's still more efficient than driving a narrower implement, but I do need to gear down. We're having a little bit of a struggle getting up this hill, believe it or not. That's always fun. I love the hilly terrain and manual transmissions in Farm Sim 22. That combination together just adds a little bit to the gameplay. I don't know, I'm a big fan of hearing that tractor get bogged down as we're doing things. I think for me, that would be one of the funnest additions to the franchise, would be if the ground conditions changed and you got, wet and muddy and compaction in the soil and things like that, that would cause a noticeable drag on a tractor and implement in the field. in addition to the hills and those aspects that are already here right now. I think that would be the thing that I would find the most entertaining, keep me the most engaged when you're driving and doing field work. It would give you something to pay attention to while you're out here, rather than just am I driving in a straight line, so to speak. Now, I have made the ad hoc decision to just clean up the headland pass a little bit here. I'm noticing a lot of half moons on the edge of the field right there. So I figured, we're here, we're pointed in the right direction. I'm just gonna knock them out real quick. We'll get run right back down here now, and I've got just a single round. I can't imagine there's more than one pass down and cleaning up a little bit of the missed bits. So I think what I'll do is we'll take the long trek GPS track back, and then I'll hit the little corner there that we're missing on the way back up. But we do have a bit down in this other curve, the bend around the creek here, that I need to go get. So let's zip down here and see if I can knock that out. We're putting that roller awfully far off the side of the field there, making me a little uncomfortable. And here we go. Oh, we didn't quite make it. I was over excited. I thought I could get the whole thing in a single pass, and then once I realized I was missing some on both sides. Oh well, we'll get it all cleaned up now. And she's really pulling up this hill, my goodness. I think we've got just a sliver over here that we need to hit now. And there we go. All right, I think that's gonna wrap up this field. And part of me is wondering, should I go and hit the cornfields? Like, in real life, I would probably not roll a cornfield. It just doesn't make sense. However, in Farm Sim, it's telling me I need to get the bonus. I think I'm just going to skip the bonus. I think it doesn't feel very realistic to me to actually go out there and roll a cornfield. And so I'd rather just take the incremental yield bonus hit and not do that. There we go. This thing's gonna pull in on itself as we get going. I love how the wings are kind of free floating on this one. I think I've had other rollers where when you're pulling it, the back end is very rigid compared to the front there. And this one has it set up so they kind of move and float like I would expect, which is awesome. I'm seeing our grass field over here on the left-hand side on that hill is really spotty. I'm hoping that fills in and looks nice and full once the grass continues to grow up some. Because otherwise I almost wish I would have left it as a pasture, because that just looks weird to me. But I'm going to go with that's because it's in an early state of growth still, and we'll see what it looks like. Now, the alfalfa and clover, I really wish I could get out there and roll it. I wonder what happens if I go out there and roll this. This field is so narrow that I don't even know if I could get this roller out there. Let's try it. Let's see what happens if I roll alfalfa, because I'm just really curious. And it looks like courseplay might be done right now. I see the planter sitting up there on the corner of the other field, so we're in a pretty good spot. And if I'm going to roll, I'm going to back up a bit here, and we're going to do it from the very end. Probably don't want to put the roller into the lake or into the ditch like that. Oh my goodness. And let's go. Oh, it's still in an early stage of growth, so it doesn't look like I'm killing off the grass any more than it already is. So I'm going to go ahead and follow the right-hand side around the edge of the field here, and then I'll come back up down that straight side, and hopefully, because this thing is so wide and the field is so narrow, we'll be able to knock this right out. I think I'm just trying to gauge vaguely where I was at. I think I'm getting the whole field here. I don't think I need to take another pass down the middle or anything. I could probably pull up the in-game map and take a look at it. If I get lined up here, I think I need to go about 180 to go down the length of the field. If I go soil composition, it says it needs rolling still. But at least this field looks all right. But why is this field not updating its rolling status? I wonder if that's because it's a grass field, and grass has like a special roller type that it needs to use. Yeah, that's what's going on here. So unfortunate. We're not going to get a rolling benefit from using our roller out here. I was really hoping we could use one machine to rule them all, so to speak, but that's not going to work out for us. Unfortunate, very unfortunate. Well, I don't know if we're going to go for a rolling benefit on our grasses then, if this is not going to work out with them. We might try again at a different stage at some point just to see if I can do it, but I probably would have had to do it right after I seeded the grass before anything grew to get it to work with this machine. Ah well, ah well. Let's run out here and take a quick look at the corn planter. And yeah, here we are. It looks like we're all done. I don't see anything really missing. Maybe a little bit up in the corner. It looks like I missed a smidge in the top corner of that field, but there's probably not a whole lot to do about that, and honestly, the combine was probably going to miss it anyway, so we're going to turn off all those HUD icons. We've got about half of our fertilizer and half of our corn left in here, which is A-okay. We're going to have to dump all of that out at some point and get this all cleaned up. This planter is just filthy. We went hard on this in the last few days here. I'm feeling pretty good about where we're at with everything on the farm at the moment. We've got all of our planting done here finally. We got the beans in. We've got the beans are rolled now. That means the next thing we really got to worry about is spraying. And so we're going to have to, at some point here, get our sprayer all purchased and set up. I think for today, though, I'm going to worry about getting the equipment cleaned up, and we should probably see if we can make a little bit more food for the animals. I'm curious if I've got any hay left in here. We do have a little bit of hay left in here, so I'm going to make a batch of food while I'm thinking about it and get that all set up. We are focusing on a strong hay mixture, so we're going to put about 67%, looks all right. And the rest silage. It's going to be a minute before we can get any silage going again. And so I always like to go strong on the hay. We can get more hay here at any point. I think our fields are just about ready. And I can go ahead. I've fully automated my feed cycles now with auto drive. So all I have to do is actually mix the feed when I get back to the harvest store. And auto drive will take my tractor around for me, dump it into the appropriate barn that I've picked, and get right back over here to the harvest store and wait until I mix the next load. It's been really quite handy. The only thing I have to watch out for is leaving vehicles in the way when we get things parked. And so here we go, right on into the barn. It's worked really well for me. And if I just look at the menu real quick, this one was the one that was a little bit lower, so I'm putting a load into barn A here to start with. I wish that I had like the Stanley Dairy Farm barn A on here. This is just how Farm Sim works. They're just showing me which farm they're on right now, I think. But it'd be cool to update the names on those if possible so that I could see which barn it was. But I happen to know just because we started putting the cows into this one first, and we've got that weirdness where I've got 50 cows that are a month older than the rest of the cows in the pen. But as you can see, our tractor's going to just circle right on through this barn and take me right back over to the harvest store to get loaded up. This has been one of the handier things that I've done with the setup on this farm, just because, man, we have had to feed these cows so many loads of feed that if I was doing it 100% manually, we'd never get anything done. And this way it's a little bit easier. I do wish that I had an option to just auto mix the feed right here at the silo. So I'm tempted, very tempted, to edit the harvest store here to give me a production chain option that isn't just outputting the silage or hay, but also just mixing it right here on the fly. Not super realistic, although, you know, that's more of a modeling thing. It's very realistic to have a building that does mixing for you. And so I should be really careful here. I don't think I have as much hay as I did before, so we're gonna pour all of the hay in first, and then we'll see how much silage I want to put in here. Yeah, so we're at the right mixture percentage, but I'm out of hay. So I'm going to take this over, and we're going to put this in barn B, because barn B was a little bit fuller than barn A when we did the first batch. And let me just tell it to go ahead. You can do partial loads. Auto drive is the best from that regard. And so with that, I think we're going to have a little bit of a shorter episode today, just because we've managed to knock out all of the jobs that I have to do here in April. The next thing that I have to do, and this is what I was talking about with leaving a vehicle in the way, it does get just a smidge confused, or not confused, it tries to wait until it's out of the way. So I'm going to go ahead and just take over here. Oh, I've missed the track. All right, we'll do it manually. Here we go. And now I can take over. But this is what I was talking about, just with leaving the vehicles in the way and such, so that's all right. However, I think our next job here on the farm is going to be either mowing some grass, which we could do at any time, if I'm not mistaken. Technically, the grass is in a ready-to-harvest state. I think we're going to give it a little bit longer, though, to see if it fills out. And then outside of mowing grass, which I need to do a lot of, we have a bunch of spraying that we're going to have to do here. And I've got a sprayer all lined up. Oh, it did fill out. Look at that. The grass is beautiful. All right. So we're ready to start cutting grass here soon. And yeah, it looks like it's all as tall and filled in as the stuff next to it. The only part that isn't is this little bits right here where I messed up the ground a bit, I think. Awesome. Okay. Making me feel better about how that field looks right now. So stay tuned next episode as we jump into cutting some grass and getting into spraying some herbicide. That's all for today. Kedurk out. We've got a bit of a cloudiness and some haze here. Oh my goodness. That was my bad. I can't even pretend that wasn't my bad. What are we talking about? Oh, spraying. So the last